Well, this is the Ice Station Zero, formerly the Bad Things channel again. I haven't broadcasted in a while because, well, personal reasons. Um, Currently, I'm playing Conan Exiles. I have a friend on. Hope she knows I'm filming. This is my character. I've been playing on this server for quite a while. Uh, I have built a base in the crevice. I'm not going to show you the whole base. But this is, again, I'm calling this channel Ice Station Zero. This has nothing to do with ICE, the immigration people, or anything like that. Ice Station Zero was a movie in the Cold War about a base in Antarctica, um, hence the name, and had to do with more Cold War paranoia, which, in lieu of current events, I'm almost seeing as a golden age. Some of the acceptance we've gotten in the past has eroded. Really, hence the whole reason for the name Ice Station Zero. I've wanted to illustrate. You know, if I put it any other way, it'll sound like I'm belly aching, but there's a certain amount of isolation inherent in the left-hand path, even when, you know, the old song goes, you know, cowboys are alone, even when there's someone that they love. There is an immense feeling of isolation. This is my friend. She runs a server here. It seems she's built this structure here. She locked it. You can have a look around, see what she's built. Oh, this is someone else's base. I wonder whose. These are NPCs. Don't know whose it is. That's a nice style they have, though. Good idea keeping the archers up on these little protected areas. I'm torn. I've currently had a bad experience with Christianity, as some who know me actually realize. I tried to extend a hand and sort of got it slapped. Many in the right-hand path have stopped treating us like lepers, and at least just understood we're people of a different viewpoint, not bleeding monsters who want to destroy everything they believe in. Really, when it comes down to it, the real left-hand path isn't about destroying the right-hand path. We just have an opposite destination. Their destination is to merge with the universe and the gods and all that, and ours is to realize ourself, be separate from everything else. It's really not that evil of a mentality. We're perceived as evil, and sometimes this is deliberate. We want to be just perceived as evil. Wow. That could have ended badly. How do I get down? Okay, well that just didn't work. I think I die more from just jumping off of stuff in this game than monsters. Well, I've gotten quite good at scaling mountains and whatnot. Nice hat. Oh, you had some dye. Don't mind if I do. Well, it is somewhat problematic. We had made some progress in years past, and granted, people aren't trying to arrest us, at least not the majority. The fact is the recent trend to atheism, which I don't know, with these attacks that may actually go in the other direction. You never really know how people are going to start thinking, and this is one of the advantages of the path, is that we're not trying to merge with this mass of insanity that we call society. The only problem is that we still have to deal with it. It's still there. Recently, I had and this is going to sound insane, I'm pretty sure. Um, just don't know how else I can explain it. I had gone on one of those meetup.coms, and someone had responded, and I'd met this guy in a Starbucks, and the guy was talking a little weird. He kept was going into the theory and cosmology, and he kept on talking about how this could be applied to, I don't know, large groups and that sort of thing. It all got somewhat stupid. Come to find out, the man had put a magnet on my car. I know that sounds weird, but it was, I guess, one of those, they have those stores that are basically spy stores where, like, for 20 bucks you can buy a device that you put on someone's car, and I guess you hook it to your phone or your GPS and you can tell where they are. I don't understand why it was important for him to do this. I took the little thing. It was about the size of a button. It was very small and it was magnetic. And I put it on an elderly woman's car, figuring he could follow her around. Obviously wouldn't hurt her. Didn't want anybody to be put out by it. This is something I think that most right-hand path people don't understand. They think because we're left-hand path, we don't believe in consequence. And actually, it's very much the opposite. I wonder why this isn't hurting. I did not want to get that close to him. Ooh. Run! Ah! Well. I'm going to try a different approach. Okay, run away. This is why, kids, you don't fuck with the giants. Do as I say, not as I do. Got him halfway down. Kids, if he's over 8 feet, run away. This didn't turn out well. Ooh, that did hurt him. Not enough, though. Might slow him down, might not. Well, that music helps. Oh. And he's dead. That, my friends, is how you kill something much bigger than yourself. even more dangerous to us than the non-acceptance by everybody from Christians to Wiccans to, and there are some that do. There's quite a few that don't, though. It's a real problem. Not necessarily even a problem that I think that we even need to necessarily worry about, in so much as I think that some of this is something we ask for. People were to embrace us and do what we do, our path would be ruined. Something the Church of the Subgenius used to talk about, and they're not necessarily a left-hand path, they're more of a joke religion, but it does apply to what I'm saying. The worst thing that could happen to the church is that it become popular. Worst thing that could happen to us as a belief system is the same thing that happened to Christianity that destroyed it. It became popular, and it became easy for people to fake. One of the things that just about everybody agrees on is there's a great deal of what you call fake Christians running around. That is, people who will put a cross around their neck for more or less some kind of public approval. Not that I think damage couldn't be done by people who were sincerely into it. And the same goes true for the left-hand path. Look at L. Ron Hubbard. You can say, oh yeah, he was a Scientologist. Well, if you look at what he was into, yeah, he is an example of what happens when you start monkeying with the human mind and religion, people's wills. It can get somewhat ugly. When you understand two things. First, that the human will is sacred, and you want people to do what their own will is. But that's a two-edged sword, because both in the sense that human society is based on manipulation. I know a lot of people have talked about some way we could have a socialist democracy without money, and that would be great. But right now, any way to make money is going to involve a fair amount of manipulation. You can't just get by on hard work and a good product. Obviously, you have to sell it. And it seems a sleazy business, and I think capitalism has become very sleazy. I think if anybody's thinking of a better system, I think that's time well spent. But the fact is that currently we're in a system now where you have to manipulate people. Even Descartes came up with this concept of we needed to find some way to communicate our thoughts. And you end up dancing around, explaining very simple concepts. And anybody who's ever tried to do the teaching thing understands how frustrating this can be. It's not just on the left-hand path. You understand that. In school, they have a very tight structure. And we can talk about how, schools basically just brainwash people and all that. The bottom line is that, you have to know how to read before you can take a class on literature. And that's what I'm talking about. I think to some extent, and this is going to seem somewhat horrible, but a lot of ceremonial magicians trained by certain groups can be just as ineffective, just as impulsive as anybody else. And it's not a matter of, you get in this true Scotsman debate, who's a real Thelemite, who's a real Wiccan, whatever, and it all gets pretty stupid. Ultimately, what comes down to is who's functional. And that can be debated. I've seen witches and magicians who, using very simplistic, almost primitive systems, and seen them been quite effective. Now, of course, we talk about things like the great work, that there's more to it than just getting your spells to work. And as much as I think that's generally true, there is certainly something to be said. I've often said that, the left-hand path isn't so much a religion as it is a posture one takes that makes the magic work. The biggest misconception people have about magic is that it doesn't always work the way you want it, obviously. Otherwise, it'd be a lot of people riding pink unicorns and being CEO of, I don't know, whatever stupid company. It's not just about power. It's about putting oneself in a position where certain things are possible. With myself, due to certain things about my life and about the way I was brought up, certain things were held off from me. I was put in a very odd position very quickly in my life. I chose, as a spiritual path, the left-hand path, because it offered me a solution. Not a solution in the sense of a simple answer. It wasn't like that. The real truth is that I pretty much was done with simple answers. This might not have been a good idea, but I had gotten to this point by letting other people make decisions for me. And that had been a recurring theme in my life. Anytime I've gotten into any severe trouble, not blaming other people for it, rather just not taking responsibility for my own situation. Many times when we have problems and we blame them on other people, we don't realize that, there was a choice there that we made at one point. And if that other person is causing trouble, it may be that you allowed them to do it. One of the major things about this kind of path is that we put ourselves in a position where it is harder to manipulate because we can be manipulative ourselves, therefore we see how it's done. And people in the right-hand path, people in Christianity, do not understand how much manipulation happens, because one of the tricks of manipulation is you do it when the other person thinks that you are beyond reproach. Hence the pastor or the priest that molests children, or the trusted friend who ends up breaking a business deal and whatnot. The loyal spouse who cheats on you. Now, that doesn't mean that one should just avoid trusting anybody for whatever reason. That is one of the pratfalls the left-hand path has, is that you end up being on your own little perch, separate from everybody, and you trust no one. Many times, going into a business, working at a job, being in a relationship, there is a certain element of trust, certainly. You can't get away from this. Human society is cooperative. It always has been. But that being said, when your whole focus is on getting others to cooperate with you, you lose sight of a lot of things that are very important. One of them is how much say you have in how your own life goes and what happens in the world.